This video is brought to you by Western Digital. Every drive has a purpose. Hey there gamers! Now I know as a strategy game fan it's frustrating that we don't get much info on new games from the mainstream media, so I've decided to tell you my top 5 picks of strategy games I'm excited for each quarter of the year. Now of course it's my top 5, so obviously it's pretty subjective. It's not an exhaustive list of everything that's coming out, and since I haven't actually played this game that have not been released, my opinions are merely speculations, so don't take my word to mean that these games will absolutely rock. You really can't tell these days. So for the last quarter of 2016, it's a pretty big end of the year for strategy games. Let's start with the obvious. Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Now, I had my reservations with Civ 6, especially because of the whole district features, buildings now residing outside your city taking up a tile. I was worried about a crowded map, and everything I've heard about it so far has been positive across the board. What's even more exciting, and something I think Firaxis has to be lauded for, is they're bringing over a lot of the mechanics or elements of Civilization 5 plus its expansion. So rather than cutting down on features, something many accused Civ 5 vanilla for doing, Civ 6 adds new cool stuff. It's tough to compare a new vanilla Civ game with the previous one, which has had a ton of awesome expansions, which is why I'm super glad Firaxis are doing this, and maybe this could be one of the best vanilla Civs in a long time. Endless Space 2. Endless Space did something different from the countless of other Space 4X games. While the competition was busy trying to make their own version of Masters of Orion, Amplitude made a game that was much more approachable with cool looking battles that you couldn't directly control, which I'm sure some people hated. But I felt Endless Space took the chore out of 4X. It wasn't perfect and it did get bland, a little boring after a while. So why am I excited for Endless Space 2? Well, the easy answer: because Endless Legend happened. Amplitude went on to make a 4X fantasy game that would bring lots of new things and put a new spin on the genre. Endless Legend was a breath of fresh air. It broke fantasy stereotype, creating its own factions with their own lore, which was very different from the atypical Tolkien-esque fantasy stuff we've seen a gazillion times. Having learned from the experience of developing Endless Legend, I'm sure Amplitude will be making Endless Space 2 a lot more unique, with more character to it. Honestly, the only other time I was excited for a 4X base game was when Stellaris came out. Warhammer 40,000 Sanctus Reach. We haven't heard much about a Warhammer 40,000 Sanctus Reach, but what I've heard of it is that it's published by Slytherin, made using their own 3D proprietary engine, and that this is possibly the closest to the tabletop Warhammer 40k rules in a video game. Of course there'll be differences since this is a video game and the devs would want to take advantage of that. Speaking of the devs, Sanctus Reach is being developed by the people that made Warhammer 40,000 Armageddon, so I know it's in good hands. I just wonder how deep the tactics and strategy will be in Sanctus Reach, because Armageddon was after all a pretty basic war game. But based on Armageddon and the quality of that title, I think Sanctus Reach could possibly be something quite special for the Warhammer 40k fan base. Frozen Synapse 2. Frozen Synapse was probably my favorite tactics game that no one I knew played. It's a top-down tactics game with simultaneous turns. It played like a turn-based Rainbow Six game and was very much about predicting what your opponent will do. In multiplayer, it was brilliant. Single player is good, but it wasn't the strong point of the game. In Frozen Synapse 2, the developers, Mode 7 Games, are putting a lot more work into expanding the single player. It's now an open world tactics game. This is a smart move since statistics show majority of gamers play single player rather than multiplayer, which probably hurt sales and the longevity of Frozen Synapse. Frozen Synapse 2 is a much more massive game where the city is generated and every building can be breached, and there are factions that you can align with, get missions and all that good stuff. If it's anything like Frozen Synapse and perhaps 10 times better, I know I'm going to love this one. Planet Coaster. Remember Roller Coaster Tycoon World? Yeah, you probably don't because it was a bit of a disaster. Doing a successor to the classic Roller Coaster Tycoon game might be a better proposition for a developer that's not with Atari. Planet Coaster might be that game that Roller Coaster Tycoon fans have been clamoring for years. Beautiful 3D graphics, an in-depth roller coaster building tool, community sharing, powerful terrain sculptor. It's basically everything I want in a Roller Coaster Tycoon game. It's bound to be a hit on Steam and I can't wait to play the full offering. Currently, the alpha I'm playing doesn't have the campaign mode and it's still a work in progress, but it shows amazing promise and I look forward to park management and building some crazy loopy roller coaster in Planet Coaster when it is released for realsies. So there you have it. These are my top 5 games I'm looking forward at the end of 2016. Which game are you looking forward to? Is there a strategy game you think should be on this list? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching. As always, this is Frags. Have a fragtastic day. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.